good, Shellitronnn here. You can call me Shells, and I'm back at again with a brand new video, and I'm gonna keep it a Bowberry biscuit. I am very confused as to what's happening with these Carolina Panthers. At first, seeing what we were doing this year from the draft to training camp and all the news we've been hearing, I thought there was a plan in place, but apparently Joe Person is letting me know that there actually was not. And if there was a plan, it horribly failed. Now, what am I talking about? Throw this tweet right here from Joe Person saying, on a football-related note, Panthers have been calling teams looking for secondary help per source. This is a tweet that went out on Saturday, the 29th of August. This is the day when the Panthers actually canceled football practice to talk about social justice issues and all that kind of stuff. And it made me really wonder as to what was going on with the team, because I thought the team had addressed the issue of the secondary. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you know that I felt the teams had to address the secondary for a while. I said before last year even started that extending James Bradberry was the most important move of the year before the 2019 season even happened. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I don't have to go over everything that James Bradberry did against 3 of the top 5, maybe even 4 receivers in the league consistently for 3 years straight. But okay, he cost a little too much. You let him go. This year's draft comes around, and now I'm thinking to myself, okay, we definitely need to pick up some players in the secondary. Eric Reed is gone. Trey Boston, okay, we're going to re-sign him. That's cool, but he's not really on a very long-term deal. There are questions literally everywhere for the corners. We don't have James Bradberry anymore. Dante Jackson has looked streaky at best. We have not had a good slot corner in... My watch is broken. So we don't really know what's happening on the front line of our secondary. And for the safety situation, there are still some questions because Trey Boston is not a superstar safety. He's a player who won't lose you games, but he probably won't single-handedly win games for you. He's not really a guy who's going to have highlight plays you can depend on week in and week out. He's going to do his job. He's a complementary piece to a bigger picture on the defense, and that's fine. We get to the draft this year. First 2 picks, D-line. That's cool with me. Our 3rd pick is a player in Jeremy Chin who played safety, but now we're hearing he might play linebacker instead. So that means the first 3 picks of this year's draft could potentially have ignored I don't want to call it the biggest problem. I think the front line, the front 7 definitely was the biggest problem of our defense last year. We just could not stop the run. But going up against easily the hardest division for quarterback and wide receiver duos, you would have thought we would address the secondary a little bit sooner or a little bit harder than just going out and picking up Eli Apple, of all people, in free agency. I do not know what Marty Hurney thought he saw out of Eli Apple. Ever since his rookie year with the Giants, I have not seen very much. The only consistent thing I've seen out of Eli Apple since his rookie season has been him committing penalties. He played for the Saints for a little bit, but I don't really like the idea of us picking up their scraps, especially scraps that they would honestly be happy for us to pick up. So there were moves made. You know, we have Dustin Burris. He can play the safety spot. We're also hearing that he's getting practice at the running back spot, and that's fine if guys can play 2 ways. But if your team's in a situation where you're contemplating picking up more players in the secondary only 2 weeks out from the very beginning of the season, I'm not so sure you can be really wasting time on having a guy who plays safety, a position of need, at the running back spot in training camp so he can be the 3rd best running back? Because we already know that C-Mac's going to get the bulk of the running back responsibilities and the duties, and he won't come off the field all that often. And then we still have Reggie Bonifant. So who really cares about RB3? You really could just have Alex Arma do that, be a power back in goal line situations. That's fine with me 100%. We still do have Mike, so it's all good there. Why would you waste a guy's time playing running back when he could be spending all those reps playing safety? That to me seems like inefficient player development. I'm no coach. I'm not a scout. I'm not one of these position guys. But that doesn't seem like the best way to work this team, especially if it looks like you're trying to actually win this year. You're not using this as a gap year, like a learning year, which is what I thought we were going for. I thought the plan was, okay, You have Jeremy Chinn, Troy Pride. You got Stanley out there, someone you can bring in and out situationally. He probably won't get a ton of reps, but I thought the plan was we're not going to focus too heavily on our secondary. We built up our front seven. Let's let these guys learn through the fire, right? We know we have, like I said, the hardest quarterback and receiver duo division in the league. We know what the Bucs have. They got two of them. And they now have Brady. We know what the Falcons have. They have two of them. Don't get so caught up in Julio Jones that we forget about Calvin Ridley. We've seen what Calvin Ridley been doing to us over the past couple years. Let's not sleep on that. Then we know about Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and even Alvin Kamara. We should be the first team in the league who acknowledges the damage a pass-catching running back can do to other teams. We do it all the time. So don't sleep on Alvin Kamara as well. All right? My thought was we did not focus on getting big name players in the secondary. So we're just going to go ahead and baptize these rookies through fire. Let them learn the hard way. Throw them in there. Let them get that experience against some of the best of the best. Go down our schedule. We are playing 7 or 8 of the top 12, maybe 13 receivers in the league. But since apparently that's not what we're doing, it makes it look like there was never a plan in place. Or like I mentioned at the top, the plan that was in place was just horrible. And it makes us look like we're in a really bad spot for the secondary. And it's not just that we're in a bad spot for the secondary. It's also a problem that we're looking at other teams, third or fourth best corners and safeties to bring to the team. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if we're looking for corners. Are we looking for safeties? What exactly are we looking for? That mostly depends on where Jeremy Chinn plays, what they're doing with Justin Burris. What exactly were they telling the truth about Dante Jackson? That's the biggest, really only question for me, honestly. Were they telling the truth about Dante Jackson playing CB1 this year? And then I saw this other tweet right here from Ian Rappaport talking about how the Chargers star safety Derwin James is likely to miss significant time with a meniscus injury he had at practice. He goes on to say he could have been a defensive player of the year. And if you know about Derwin James, he is a monster. He really is one of the best safeties in the league. And the Chargers might be looking for other guys to bring into their fold as well. Now, they have some really good backups in LA, so they might not be in competition with us, but there really aren't that many guys who are free and available right now. If you're looking for other teams' guys, are we going to take their second best player? And what will that cost us in draft picks? Would a draft pick for next year be worth picking up maybe a rental guy? Because we don't have a lot of cap space right now. Can we pay a bigger name dude in a trade? And for next year's draft, since we are kind of in a rebuild, wouldn't that draft pick be a little bit more valuable to us later on? And this is a season where we don't have high expectations. Can we really afford to give away, a third round pick? Even fourth round picks have some value. So it makes me kind of wonder, what exactly are we doing? And if we're going for a free agent, if we don't go for trading another team, if we go for a free agent, there's not too many great ones out there. As you know, there's Earl Thomas. That's not going to happen. We're trying to build a new culture. And look, if we got rid of Eric Reed, I do not believe we're going to pick up Earl Thomas. Plus, he might cost too much. There's Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan is a name who people recognize very easily, but I just do not believe Logan Ryan played well at all for the Titans. I've talked to Titan fans. They said Logan Ryan just did not look good last year. I don't see the reason why we would pick up Logan Ryan. I don't think we could give him a long enough contract that would be cheap and good enough for us. I just don't think that'd be a great move. Then there's players like Rashad Jones, who's a safety, and Tremaine Johnson, who's a corner. Now, Rashad Jones is a monster. Those boys in Miami, they know how to get them some players in the secondary. They're going to be good. But I think Rashad Jones may be a little expensive. He's coming off of injury, but he is a 2-time Pro Bowler. Tremaine Johnson is not a guy who you can have any sort of confidence in coverage. Do not believe that's a good choice. Then there's players who've been on the Panthers before, specifically just last year, Javian Elliott, and there was also Ross Cockrell. You may as well just play one of these rookies we just drafted. Why bring in another guy who might not be as good or might just be the exact same thing as what we already have? There's no reason to bring him back here. I mentioned Eric Reed. He is not coming back. Then there's guys like Akeem Talib, which I just would not want on the team. Do you pay money for rental players who you won't have long term? Do you give up future draft picks to trade for other teams' players who may not be their best or even second best coverage guys? Maybe not even their third best, depending on what you're willing to give up in the draft next year. Or do you just give what you got with the players you already have and see how that works, especially in a year where expectations aren't especially high? I am very confused as to what the real plan is for these Panthers in this season. Are we trying to win? Are we trying to have a deep playoff run? Does the front office and the coaching staff really believe we are an NFC championship game contender with this team right now? Especially with the youth in the secondary, especially with the questions on the O-line right now. I don't really know what their thought process is and why we're trying to pick up players from other teams with, at this last count, 13 days until our very first game of the season against the Raiders. I just think that either there was no plan or the plan horribly failed, or a third option, we're trying to do way too much when we don't really have to. Giving up assets and money right now for a 8 or maybe at best 9-win season just does not seem like an efficient way to build a team. I could be wrong, but I feel like there is some disconnect between what the plan should be and what kind of weird disjointed plan there seems to be, or maybe even lack thereof, for the team. That's how I feel about it, man. Want to ask me what we should do? There's a man who played for this team for several years. He used to be... You know what I'm talking about at this point. You better call him up. You better call that man up because he's ready to play. You want to win? You call that man Colin Jones and you offer him a big bag. That's all I got for you though, man. What are your thoughts on the situation? Is it a bad situation? Is it a good situation? What is the plan? You let me know in the comments below, and you already know what to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Being told y'all I been the man. Being told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.